Hey everybody, Boise State beat writer Ron Counts here with University of Nevada beat writer Chris Murray. We're going to preview Boise State's home game against Nevada this weekend. But first of all, Chris, I want to get a little bit of a history lesson from you. I'm still kind of the new guy on the beat here, and I've heard a lot about the Boise State-Nevada rivalry, but they haven't played since 2018. That was a year before I got here. What can you tell me about this rivalry?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's Nevada's best rivalry. I think if you ask Wolfpack fans, they're going to point to the UNLV game because that's obviously the in-state rivalry, and there's a gigantic Fremont cannon on the line for that game. There's no trophy that goes to the winner of this game. But you look at the history of the matchups, Nevada and UNLV have played 46 times. Only 2 times the game been decided by a field goal or less. Nevada and Boise State have played 43 times. 14 by a touchdown or less, 6 of those by 3 points or fewer overtime. There's been a 4 overtime game. There's been a 3 overtime game that determined who went to the FCS National Championship. There's been the 1 overtime game in 2010 where Nevada was ranked 18th in the nation and Boise State was ranked number 3. Basically a Rose Bowl bid on the line for Boise State. There's been high stakes, been really exciting games. I actually put out a list of the 11 epic games between Nevada and Boise State earlier today. I could have gone 20 deep. There's just been some really, really great matchups between these two schools. You have the fact that they were in a lot of conferences together, from the Big West to the Big Sky to the WAC to the Mountain West. And it really is a shame that they don't play every year. I asked Jane Bell, the Nevada football head coach, whether he would prefer if they had every year. And he said, absolutely, because how much this game means to the fan base. So while Nevada UNLV has always been big, it's always kind of been a pushover for Nevada because UNLV is not typically very good in football. As you look at this matchup, Nevada kind of had the upper hand early on in the 1970s and 1980s. It's been all Boise State this century, 17 games, the last 17 or 16-1 against Nevada. So I think this has really become a measuring stick game for the Wolfpack, and it's been very rare over the last 20 years that they've been able to clear that hurdle. And I think this is probably one of Nevada's best opportunities just because of how good this team believes it is versus where Boise State is right now as a program, which is a good program, but not the top 10 kind of teams Nevada was running into against Boise State in the 2010s. What are your
So my
questions
first
about
question for
this?
you, obviously, is going to revolve around Carson Strong. I mean, kind of a lot of hype as a potential number one overall draft pick this year. I mean, what makes him that potential number one overall pick?
Well, I mean, he has a lot of the intangibles that you want, just in terms of his love of the game, his work ethic, his study habit, his leadership skills. But it comes down to 6'4" and an NFL arm. Like, this is a guy who can make all of the throws NFL level. Even in the loss to Kansas State 2 weeks ago, there were 3 or 4 throws on there where you're like, there are a lot of NFL players who can't make these throws. Like, not only the arm strength, but the accuracy, the ability to get the ball out quickly. The release is really, really strong. The deep ball accuracy is something that he really showed last year. He had more 40. He had 4 passes last year of 50 air yards that were completed. The rest of the FBS combined had 4. So he can really stretch the defense vertically. Now you have seen a lot of defenses say you're not going to be deep anymore. And you look at Kansas State, they had 6 defensive backs on almost the entire game, 3 deep safeties. So they're saying, okay, now go out and run the ball. If you want to complete all these short passes, it's going to take you 10 to 12 plays to get down the field. Go out and do that. So Carson has had to use his mind quite a bit more in the second half of last year and the beginning of the season in trying to make those explosive plays happen and trying to go for too much at a time. But outside of him not being an elite athlete, like, he's a solid athlete. He was a very good basketball player in high school. But he's not a guy who's go out there and run like a 4.5 or a 4.6 40. That's really the only knock on him. So I think he's probably going to be first or second round draft pick. Can he be number 1 overall in the top 10? I think it comes down to that athleticism question, and it comes down to the medical issue because he had a significant knee injury in high school that made him miss his entire senior season. He's had 2 knee surgeries this offseason to try and correct some things. One right before the start of fall camp that kind of limited him so far earlier this season. If his medicals chat well, this is a guy who you can dream on and say, okay, this can be a really, really good quarterback at the NFL level. He's also surrounded by a lot of really good skill position players. Romeo Douglas is going to be an NFL wide receiver. Cole Turner is 6'6". He's going to be an NFL tight end. Elijah Cooks, who's a really good wide receiver, unfortunately, for the Liz Frank foot injury against Kansas State, so he's out for the year. Nevada is down a weapon there, but he's surrounded by really good skill position players. The big question mark at Nevada is the offensive line. It's a veteran group, but it has not been an above average group so far this season. Nevada really struggled to run the ball. So it will be interesting to see how much they do try and expose that run defense against Boise State. Jay Noel, despite having all these offensive weapons and running an air raid, really likes running the ball. So, I think it will be real fun to see exactly how Nevada tries and attacks a Boise defense that has a weakness that doesn't necessarily play into Nevada's strength.
You mentioned some of those awesome receivers that Carson Strong has to play with. Romeo Douglas is a guy who just seems like one of the biggest vertical threats in the conference, maybe in the country. Is that his greatest strength, or is he a guy that can kind of play underneath routes as well?
That's his greatest strength for sure. I mean, when he went out on a crazy start at the beginning of last year, it's because he was beating every team deep. They just couldn't stop him on the ball. You look at his first 5 games last year and had 9 touchdowns, was averaging 170 yards per game. Now, at that point, he's only had 100-yard game, that coming against Idaho State FCS team in week 2 this season. So teams definitely learned how to slow him down quite a bit. And Elijah Cooks on the opposite end was supposed to open some things up this year. They have played him in the slot a little bit. He had a 50-yard catch against Kansas State, and that came out of the slot. So they are trying to move him around and give defenses different looks. He's a solid route runner, but this is a guy with quarterback in high school in Southern California. So he's relatively new to the position. Coach Norvell has compared him to Jerry Rice on a number of occasions, which is obviously crazy lofty. Jay Norvell's on the staff with the Raiders when Jerry Rice was there. He has experience with him. And what he's referring to is maybe Romeo's not going to go run like the fastest 40 time. He's not going to go run a 2. But when you put him on the field, he's faster than everybody who's around. So Nevada's goal is to always get 1, 2, or 3 deep shots to Romeo per game. They have the arm strength with the quarterback. They have the speed with Romeo. And just can they scheme themselves in position where they get Romeo in one-on-one situation, because he is so great. I mean, I was just out of practice and he caught like 3 or 4 of those balls. So that is the big concern if you're a Boise State defense or any defense playing Nevada. How do you make sure that Romeo doesn't have a catch like that? Because Nevada's going to take some shots. And, what the trade-off has been for all the defenses is willing to give up 10 catches for 90 yards. They're not willing to give up him having 3 catches for 150 yards, which he was doing at the beginning of last year. So that has been kind of the change in how people are defending Nevada, and I don't feel like they've completely adjusted to the point where they're going out there and putting huge offensive numbers. Nevada has not been great offensively the last couple of years when they play bowl caliber teams. They're averaging like 17 points per game. When they play non-bowl teams, they're having more like 35 points per game. So that'd be Nevada's challenge if they're going to accomplish getting to a Mountain West championship game, something they've never done, moving to the conference in 2012. Like, they're going to have to put up 30 plus points to beat Boise State. They're going to have to put up 40 plus points to beat Fresno State on the road. So, and this offense with all these skilled players gets schemed up enough to where they're going out there and putting up big point totals against some of the better teams in the Mountain West.
So you mentioned Elijah Cooks. He's going to be out now with the Liz Frank fracture. He was their leader with 4 receiving touchdowns this season. What does Nevada lose when they don't have Elijah Cooks on the field, and who's going to fill his shoes?
I mean, they lose a lot. The good thing for Nevada is this position is enough that if they can afford a loss of an all-conference player, that wide receiver, because of Romeo, because of Cole Turner, who's basically a wide receiver who plays in the slot and they call a tight end. So they have 2 really dynamic weapons. I asked Carson Strong that very question: who needs to step up with Elijah out of the mix? And he said it's got to be Romeo and it's got to be Cole. He didn't necessarily go to whoever is going to replace Elijah as the backup. He went to place of, we need our stars to go out there and play like stars. Elijah is a 6'4" kid. He was on Nevada's Sweet 16 basketball team in 2008, so he's exceptionally athletic. He's the most physical wide receiver Nevada has, especially at the point of contact with the ball. He high points the ball really, really well. He's a kid who had almost 1,000 yards as a sophomore, and then very unfortunately, his last couple of years, he's just been injury plagued. He had a separated shoulder that he had to have surgery on in his first couple of series last year in the season opener, and missed the rest of the season. So just very unfortunate for him, because he's probably an NFL caliber talent, and now he's got to make the decision whether he wants to come back to Nevada for a 6th year or whether he wants to test the NFL. In terms of his backups, Torrey Horton, the brother of Tyler Horton, who was a Boise State great cornerback, is the guy who is next on the depth chart. Torrey's been dealing with some injuries throughout the year, so we'll see exactly how limited or how healthy he's going to be for this matchup. But he's a 6'3" kid who scored 3 touchdowns against Fresno State as a true freshman 17-year last year. That tells you how good and how talented he is as a player. He had a couple of deep catches against Cal for 50+ yards each. So he's a really, really talented guy. There's a kid named Justin Lockhart. He's the nephew of Shaquille O'Neal. So he's also got some really good genes. He's 6'4". Nevada basically goes out and they recruit all these 6'3", 6'4" long kids who can run really fast and beat you down the field. So that's going to be a number of players. Melquan Stovall is their slot wide receiver. Both of his brothers played at the Power 5 level, Melquise at Cal. So he comes from a very talented family as well. So, Nevada loses a big piece in Elijah Cooks, but they're more than ready to replace him. This is a team that played almost all of last year, except a couple of series without Elijah as well. So they're prepared for this moment, but it certainly does take away one really strong weapon, a guy who was with the team with 4 touchdown catches in his first 3 games this season. The Wolfpack's pretty well stocked. I actually think the more important injury might be Tyson Williams. He's a kid who started 26 games at strong safety for Nevada. He suffered a twisted knee on the second play of the Wolfpack's last game and is going to be out probably a month. But you look at Nevada's secondary. This is a position to me was the biggest question mark on the entire team entering the year. They played a Cal team that doesn't throw the ball a lot. They played an Idaho State FC team who lost their starting quarterback because of injury in that game. And then they played a Kansas State team who was starting their backup quarterback and only had to throw the ball 13 times. So this secondary has not been tested against a good passing team. And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for this defense in this game. And they're going to go into it without probably their best player in the secondary and Tyson Williams. His backup, Jordan Lee, has started 6 games, so he's not experienced. But I think while Elijah is getting a lot of the headline, I actually think the loss of Tyson Williams might be a little bit more important for this specific matchup, and especially because it's kind of a position not of strength, maybe not a weakness, but it's probably Nevada's weakest position, the secondary. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out.
So defensively for Nevada, as you look at them statistically, they're really impressive in terms of sacks and against the pass. I think they're top 20 nationally in both categories. What do you attribute that success to?
I mean, Jay has put a lot of emphasis on getting to the quarterback a lot more. I mean, basically his whole speech during the offseason was that, I've watched a lot of NFL games, and the way you win games in the NFL is you get pressure on the quarterback. So put a lot of pressure on these guys to do a better job of getting to the quarterback. Very unfortunately for Nevada, the run defense taken a step back. They struggled to stop the run against Cal. They struggled to stop the run against Kansas State, allowing 269 yards. I think one of the reasons that the passing numbers are so good is that teams have not necessarily had to throw the ball to beat Nevada. They haven't had to test that secondary because they've run it so well. So I still think the biggest concern for this team is probably the secondary. Nevada has 2 really good defensive linemen, and Dom Peters and Sam Hammond, who are both all Mountain West players last year. So those guys have the ability to get to the quarterback. They have a pass rushing specialist guy named Tristan Nichols, 6'4" kid, who's very good at getting to the quarterback as well. He usually comes in third and second and long. So pass rush is not an issue. The biggest issue has been run defense, which has actually been very good under Jay Norvell the last couple of years. So I think it's been a surprise that they've backslid there, maybe as a result of putting more emphasis on getting to the quarterback. You look at the linebackers, Nevada has a base linebacker formation of 2 guys. Lawson was all conference last year, and they have a kid named Deion Henley, who's also a good linebacker. So that's a position of strength. Burdell Robbs is Nevada's best cornerback. He's only 5'9", but he's a very physical player, ranked in the top 10 in the nation, according to Pro Football Focus, in man-to-man coverage last year among all schools. So he's a pretty good player as well. But I think the pass defense is going to be stressed the most in this game.